Hey there, friends, and welcome back to another 3-Minute Thoughts. My name is Derek. In the next 3 minutes, we're going to take a look at James chapters 1 through 5. We're going to take the whole book at once. When the early church first heard the letter of James, it didn't sound like a gentle devotional. It sounded a lot like a spiritual wake-up call, a gut punch to the followers of Jesus. James writes as a pastor to a scattered, pressured, suffering church, people who believe in Jesus but are struggling to live it out. Chapter 1 opens by reframing their trials. Hardship is not random, it produces maturity. For those early believers facing persecution and loss, this wasn't just theory, it was about survival. James tells them that wisdom is theirs for the asking, but divided loyalty, being double-minded, is going to stunt their growth. They can't be focused on the things of God and the things of their own hardships. Real faith must be practiced. It must be lived out. Hearing the word without doing it is not obedience. It's actually self-deception. James chapter 2 addresses a problem the early church consistently battled, the battle of favoritism. Wealthy visitors getting special treatment while the poor were pushed aside. James insists that this violates the heart of the gospel. The kingdom levels people. The cross removes status games. Faith without works is dead. This is the important part here. Faith must be lived out. It's not about the dollars we give or the way we dress, but rather about the way we live out our faith. Not because works replace faith, but because genuine faith inevitably is going to produce action. Chapter 3 tackles the power of speech. In a time when house churches depended entirely on trust and unity, careless words could fracture a community overnight. James compares the tongue to a spark, small but capable of burning everything in its wake. James chapter 4 exposes deeper issues, conflict, pride, and spiritual compromise. He tells them bluntly, the root of their fights is misplaced desire. They want the world's prizes and God's blessing at the exact same time. James calls that friendship with the world, not meaning culture in general, but the system of self-promotion and pride that opposes God. His solution is simple. Humble yourselves, draw near to God, quit pretending everything is fine. And then finally, James chapter 5 brings two strong themes, justice and endurance. Wealthy landowners were exploiting poor laborers, and James warns that God hears the cry of the oppressed. For the early church, many of whom were poor, this was hope. For those with power, it was a warning. And then James closes by calling believers to patience, prayer, and mutual restoration. James gives the early Christians a framework for a faith that is whole, tested, consistent, and embodied. Not a belief that's floating in the air, but a belief that is lived on the ground, shaping speech, relationships, humility, and justice. These are the things that we could probably learn as we read the book of James for ourselves today. Where are we failing to live out our calling as followers of Jesus? Be well, friends.